Hurricanes are the most dramatic displays of nature's large-scale fury. One storm could reach from New York to Chicago. In the Western Hemisphere, the islands of the Caribbean and the southeast coast of the United States are prime targets for hurricanes. The most destructive natural disaster in U.S. history was Hurricane Andrew. When Andrew struck Florida on August 23, 1992, its winds were clocked at more than 250 kilometers per hour, and they were still climbing when they broke the wind gauge at the National Hurricane Center. The storm hit hardest just south of Miami. Though it came and went overnight, Andrew, like all natural disasters, left behind a legacy of ruin. Before it began its rampage across South Florida, Andrew was born, like most hurricanes, as a cloud disturbance off the African coast. Swirling storms are formed when warm, moist air rises and cools. The storms grow larger and faster as they race westward, developing into violent hurricanes that can rip through the West Atlantic from June to November. The hurricane center, known as the eye, remains calm. But the eye walls are packed with intense thunderstorms that generate fierce, gusty winds. And winds have rarely been as savage as Andrew's. The storm left a total of 62 people dead, and it left parts of South Florida a wasteland.
This hurricane caused more destruction of property than any other natural disaster in the history of the United States. We're talking of the order of $15 to $30 billion.
It could have been much worse. Andrew just missed the densely populated center of Miami. As it was, 160,000 people were forced from their homes. Besides the thousands of personal tragedies, there was an immense environmental problem. In one day, Hurricane Andrew created at least 3 million tons of garbage. There was enough burnable debris to fuel fires at more than 100 sites, at some of them 24 hours a day. The smoke was bad enough, but Andrew created other more insidious dangers. Mike Palmer's specialty is containing hazardous and toxic spills. After Andrew, he and his crew sifted through devastated neighborhoods for household hazards.
Now, what you may normally see with one house, the typical chemicals they'll have, like, a small thing of acetone and a thing of brake fluid, and here's some clear stain. You'd say, well, what's the big deal? How bad can this really be to the environment? Well, if I open this up and I poured it on the ground here, would it absolutely contaminate the groundwater for this whole area? No, probably wouldn't. But we don't have that here. What we've got here is we've got these quantities or more in every single house. And if these equipment comes in here and they rupture these containers and it goes into the environment all at once like that, it is too much.
This is only a fraction of the hazardous waste recovered from the wreckage of thousands of homes. No one knows how much toxic material remained unaccounted for. In the chaos following Hurricane Andrew, human survival is the priority, but other animals are victims too. Miami's Metro Zoo lay directly in Andrew's path. The zoo suffered serious losses, including hundreds of prized tropical birds and 5 large mammals. Miraculously, most of the animals came through unharmed, even though they were out in the open, exposed to the fierce intensity of the storm. Many of the zoo's exhibits were ruined, and it will take decades to replace the crucial shade trees. In the aftermath of a hurricane, survivors must try to make the best of what remains. But the residents of South Florida must also come to terms with the certainty that another big hurricane is on the way. The long-term problem is that people build their homes in the areas most vulnerable to tropical storms. If coastal development continues, more and more people will find themselves in the paths of major hurricanes.